Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Life Connectivity, how to connect my lesson to the real world. I am Dr. Shante Harrell, your district teacher mentor, a part of the Department of Educator Effectiveness. This mini session should last no longer than 30 minutes. It's brought to you by Birmingham City Schools and is appropriate for levels K through 12, as well as we're focusing on the Marzano elements numbers 1, 6, and 16. Let's begin. Marzano Element 1 focuses on planning standards based lessons or units. Make sure when you are planning your lessons or your units that it is assigned to a standard. Marzano Element number 6, where we're focusing on helping students process new content. This is especially helpful and ties into Hook, which was our previous mini session. And then Marzano element number 16, organizing students to interact with content or having a purpose for learning. So, what is real life connectivity? Real world connections draw from or upon actual objects, events, experiences, and situations to effectively address a concept, a problem, or an issue. It simply involves learning that allows the students to experience or practice concepts and skills, as opposed to learning that is theoretical or idealistic. Simply put, students should have some kind of connectivity to why they are learning what they're learning, not just because they're interested in getting a good grade or because their teacher assigned it. A real world connection means that students see that reason, like I just said, as opposed to seeing it as an assignment to have a grade attached to it. There are so many ways to connect to the real world that even beginners, as we're walking into this virtual phase, can take the multimedia approach. Whether you are bringing in that connectivity through PowerPoint presentation or through YouTube's, or even actually having the Zoom sessions with people who have come to partner and network with the classes. It is so worthwhile and it helps students find purpose in learning, and it also gives students a deeper understanding of why they're learning what they're learning. There are 10 kinds of real world connections. Number one, the overarching connecting through topics. You can connect with students through their interests, their experiences, or even significant issues. For example, if I have a student that is interested in race cars, well, I'm teaching about measurement in math. Well, I can assign or at least have the connectivity to the students to help them understand that, we fill our cars up with gallons of gas. So, how many gallons do you think a race car would need? Instantly, that student will be intrigued to not only focus on the lesson, but also try to dig a little bit deeper in their understanding to put two and two together of how do I use my skills in math and measurement and my love for race cars to be able to merge the two. So now that I have a purpose for learning outside of just getting a grade, as well as students' experiences. Several students are involved in whether it's little league sports or actually tied to the school. So maybe these are some things to bring the interest in. Maybe a situation where the student won their game last night. So what are some things that helps you incorporate science? Well, I breathe through my mouth or breathe through in my mouth, allowed more oxygen in. Of course, I was able to expel CO2 and I was able to run faster and so on and so forth. So you're connecting what they're being taught in the classroom to a real life experience, as well as significant issues. Maybe you have a student that's living with the elderly grandparent who is having a difficult time getting around on their walker. That is introduces the engineering design. Bring the opportunity for the students to create something that could be beneficial not only to their grandparents but to other elderly individuals or those who are assigned to a walker. Number two for the overarching, you can connect through their interactions. For example, like we just talked, maybe it's a situation we want to improve um, the real world. Maybe it is we want to help decrease pollution. What are some ways that we can do that? And then incorporate it into your lesson. Maybe you want to use it as one of your writing prompts. Also, relating to the clients. When I say clients, we're talking about your students. How do you relate to them? Do you listen to the same music? Have you been to the same areas? Have you traveled and gone to some of the similar vacation spots? How well are you connecting with your students? As well as you want to interact with their assessors. When I say assessors, referring to those who are actually in the field. So, say if I wanted to be someone who was a carpenter, it would be very interesting, especially virtually by now. You could have these individuals sit in and actually engage in a lesson and help them understand why it's important for you to know how to measure a yard or know the difference between a foot and an inch, as well as interact with people that you know. Maybe it's a situation where you feel you get mentorship from other people. Maybe it's a coach, a football or basketball coach, and they can come in and interact with the class and have some kind of connectivity to why they are learning what they're learning. And then we can also connect to the future where you they can learn their skill and understand or at least connect it to their adult possible adult work life. They can create a body of work. Maybe it's a situation they love aliens and they love to think outside the box. So maybe expressing to them the strength of having strong language arts and reading capabilities can help them become strong writers. And maybe they can write the next Harry Potter books, focus on the topic they're interested in. But again, it requires them to be connected to it. And then the last one, they can create images of the future. What do they see? Do you think we're going to actually have cars with four wheels, or are they going to be flying? What are some things that are going to be some predecessors to help us understand where we're going? So, again, it helps to have some kind of connectivity so that the students have a purpose for learning and not just gaining a grade. So, let's go a little bit deeper into each overarching idea of ways to connect to your students into the real world. So again, we're talking about connecting through topics. So here is just some suggestions or ways to assist you with getting those surveys or getting that information back so you can kind of help guide the way you're going to connect your students. So number one, when you're connecting your students through their interests, you should ask their interests. You can do this by actually giving a survey. You can do this with discussions. You can have them in breakout rooms. It could be an overall discussion. It could be a response. It could be an exit slip, you name it. Maybe it's a project. Maybe you give them a problem or a project based project and allow them to have full autonomy to create whatever it is and be able to explain why it is they created it because, of course, it has something to do with their interest. Number two, connecting through students' experiences. You can ask the students their experiences. Do you play sports? What's your favorite team? What are your favorite items? Who's ever been to Utah before? Who has ever gone ice skating before? These are the things that you are able to gain access. And you're doing this inventory of what your students are actually going to like. And of course, with a classroom full of students, you're going to get all different kinds of ideas, but you also are going to get some that are very much similar. And then number three, connecting through significant issues. What do they want to solve? You want to find a way to bring fresh water to third world countries and food on a regular basis? Or is it a situation where you want to create a way to collect trash and pollutants in the ocean so that, the aqua marine life is a lot safer? It could be also a situation like who would you like to help? Would you like to help animals or people or elderly people or babies? How do you plan on helping them? What are some ways you would like to do that? And then what are the things they would like to make better? Maybe it's a situation where they've enjoyed something, but they just feel like, oh my gosh, if we did this would make this 10 times better than what it is. And by gauging and getting that inventory of what these students like and connecting with them, you're more than likely able to build a platform that will allow your students to connect to what you're trying to teach them. That's going to drive their interaction throughout the remainder of your lesson. All right, number two, your overarching connecting through interaction. So, like we talked about, improving the real world. Have them do projects. Yes, we are virtual. Is there a way they can do a virtual project? Not too long ago in Team Talk, you all did a digital vision board that required no physical materials. It just took creativity and connecting into the things that matter most to you all. Maybe again, we could talk about assignments, but make the assignments more meaningful and tied to the students. Maybe you may have a math question or a reading question. Incorporate some of your students' names in there and make them a part of the text as well. And of course, breakout rooms are a great place for discussions on a more smaller, intimate scale. And then, of course, allow them to relate to one another. Allow them to have discourse with their peers. Don't always be so governed when teaching your lesson. It is okay for them to have autonomy, to have conversation amongst themselves with their peers, because they'll find more than likely they'll find people that have commonalities compared to those who have differences. Also, pick out similarities and differences and hone in on them. I saw that a lot of the girls, they liked Baby Yoda, and I was really surprised. I would have expected them to like Disney princesses more, and I found out the boys like Yoda too. So maybe Baby Yoda is a topic that you want to incorporate into your lesson, because it took somebody to create the film. It took a lot of directing. It took a lot of preparation. So these are the things we don't focus just on the outer surface. It's a lot more in depth that the students could get just by having that real world connection. Then number six, interacting with assessors. Invite professionals, especially those who, like I said, may want to be engineers. This is a perfect time, like I said, because we are virtual. But even when we get to the point where we're face to face, have an open door policy, have a constant invitation, even if it's just once a month. Allow someone to come in that is of interest of your students, and let the students interview them. You know, again, submit projects to competitions and fairs. So once we get back to doing more of that face to face, I know we have other competitions like building apps and things like that, but allow them to receive feedback from judges, because that's some of the things that they're going to experience in their real life, especially when they get into the workforce. They're actually going to get feedback, even if they go to college, from their professors that's critiquing their work. That's going to make them better. And of course, again, we're getting away from just assigning grades. And then number seven, interacting with people who know, okay, or they know. Provide interview opportunities, like we just said. And then, of course, let them network with surrounding and global schools. So maybe you want to have a pen pal situation going on. And so now you can understand, well, we're learning this in our school because da 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 da. Da. And the pen pal can say, well, we're learning this in our school because da 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 da. And of course, then you're connecting them. They're networking amongst themselves. They can kind of find the commonalities in what they're learning compared with the other schools are learning, and then begin to have a deeper understanding of why it is important that they learn what they're learning. Number three, the overarching, connecting to the future. Of course, we want to make sure our students are college and career ready when they graduate and head off into the workforce or into school. But make sure that they understand that they have this adult work life skill expectation. So they need a lot of exposure. Again, guest appearances are always welcome. And it doesn't always have to be outsiders. It could be a cafeteria manager. It could be, custodial manager. It could be even the principal, let them come in. A way to get them acclimated to different fields and things of that nature. Of course, like I said, with exposure, but also incorporate virtual field trips. There are so many platforms, so many applications, especially now, that will allow you to basically take your students into these environments that they would otherwise would not be able to do, if especially if we were face to face. Creating a body of work. Let them have digital projects. Like I said, the digital vision board is very simple, straight to the point. And then, of course, even embrace their connectivity, such as YouTube creation. A lot of students are YouTubers. Some of them are on Instagram and Snapchat. I'm gonna say fully engaged, but find a way to use it in a more educational way. Maybe you have a project and you want the students to talk about symbiotic or asymbiotic relationships, and allow them to be creative and shoot their own video using YouTube. You'd be surprised how what kids are capable of doing if they have the availability of the resources. So that's another thing to make sure you keep that on the forefront when you're creating these different opportunities for students to connect to the real world. Also, create images for the future. What do you want to be when you grow up? They can even have a wax museum where the students actually come in and portray being this. It doesn't have to be somebody who's famous. It could be, careers that they want to do. Have a career day, and the students get to actually tap into what they want to do. Or a career day could be a field trip, a virtual field trip, and we can go and see what this person does. And of course, like I said, have guest speakers and make it a more consistent thing because, again, we want students to understand that they are learning for a purpose and it's not just for a grade. Okay. So, with that being said, quick review. So today we talked about real world connection. Of course, we know that it means student sees a reason to do this assignment. Take an inventory of the student's interests. You can do this through conversations, through a survey, through assessments, you name it. It could just be something as simple as just paying attention to students' behaviors, especially virtually. You may have a student that is in their own world playing with their Batman. And Batman's soaring all through your screen and this, that, and the third. So maybe your next lesson, you may want to hone in on Batman and talk about some of his, extra characteristics and tie it to some way, shape, form, or fashion to your lesson. You know, make it a cue. Just so we can just grasp them, so they can understand the purpose for learning. And then, of course, we talked about the kinds of real world connections, connecting through topics, through interaction, and for the future. So, with that being said, um, in a nutshell, we want students to have a purpose for learning and not just learning for a grade. And I guarantee if you can tap into that real life connectivity and kind of get their interest right before you hook them, the lesson is going to go so much smoother because you're going to have buy in with those students because now they are interested in learning because it's tied to something that they are interested in doing. Okay. So for us, next steps. You do have a follow-up activity that can be found in Schoology. It is found actually in the group under discussion. If you did Hook last week or week before last, it is in the same section, but this go around, it is labeled Real Life Connectivity, and it is due by January 27th. Be sure that you register in PowerSchool before or by January 27th by 3 p.m. Registration will not be reopened after the deadline. That's even if you complete the follow-up activity. If you have not registered by the 27th by 3 p.m., you will not receive credit. And one of the big things that I always try to do is make sure that it's purposeful or you leave with something when you come and you step out of um, your comfort zone and give your time. So one thing is just a quick reminder, which I haven't shared with everybody else yet, but go ahead and mark your calendars for Team Talk Session 4. It is set for February 3rd. You can go ahead and register for this. You can find it through PowerSchool with the number 256029. You can either register for the 9 a.m. or the 10:30 session. It is completely up to you. I'm not breaking up according to grade bands because I feel like I want you all to be mixed in. And of course, it's out of preference. You may have something that you need to do at 9 and you could be, more prepared to catch it at 10:30. It's completely up to you. Um, and I've already provided you the sections that can be found in Schoology, I'm sorry, in PowerSchools so that you can go ahead and register. All right, so with that being said, I want to make sure that you all are aware of where you can find your materials. So again, just like before, you click on January. Last week we did Hook, and now we're doing Real Life Connectivity. Once you click on the link and it opens up, here are your overviews, your instructions, and how to register again. And of course, this information is available for you. And if you also go to your groups, go back to your mini section, and then you will go here. And it has not released because I'm shooting you this video in advance, But once you have, once the actual discussion is released, you will be able to complete your follow up activity. Once the deadline has been reached, I will go back and give you all credit. So, with that being said, that is all that I have for you. Again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all, and I hope that you enjoyed your mini session. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Again, my name is Dr. Shantae Harrell. I'm your district teacher mentor. Again, I look forward to seeing you all as we continue to progress through these mini sessions, as well as make sure that you're recording this as your evidence in your PGPs, so that you will make sure that you have some kind of support to say, these are the things that I worked on, of course, because you have tied it to your self-assessment. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. It's sharrell4bhmk12al.us, or you can call me on my district cell phone at 205-899-1038. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.